Assalamu alaikum and welcome to the Mamluks. My name is Sim. Along with me are my co-hosts, the host of Sultans and Sneakers, Mahin Islam, and Muzzy Buzz host, Mort, and His Eminence, Shaykh Amir al-Sayyid al-Baghdadi, al-Hindi,
Al-Hujjat al-Islam,
al-Maghribi.
I never heard someone call me Al-Said and then Al-Baghdadi.
You know, there's like actually an Arab show called Al-Sa'id.
Oh, really? We should watch it together.
It's about an Egyptian Sa'idi.
Folks, before we start off today's show, make sure you help us out on patreon.com/the Mad Mamluks. Please make sure you like and subscribe and click on the bell notification right next to the subscribe button so that you are notified every time we go live. Help out our fellow co-hosts, Mahin Islam and Mort, on their channels, Sultans and Sneakers. Go make sure you subscribe over there. Mort, Muzzy Buzz, help them out.
Thank you.
And last on our previous episode, Sheikh was traveling to Mauritania, escaping the memories of a lost lover that things didn't turn out too well, and he went to Mauritania and went on a spiritual journey.
Lost lover.
What's going on?
I
here?
think you just.
Oh wait, sorry. I want to add some drama to it, but he just went to
really?
Shaykh Amir.
Well, you could say he was just running away from scorpions. I mean, pretty much in the middle.
Sheikh, he went on a spiritual journey in the States, and then he decided to go to Mauritania for the pursuit of knowledge, the pursuit of the Arabic, al-lughat al-arabiyya, as they say in your tongue, right?
Mm-hmm.
Did I say that correctly? No?
Yeah, no, you did.
Why does his voice always change when he tries to mention al-lughat al-arabiyya?
Bro, you know when you go on one of those Emirati airplanes, you talk like
because
romantic Arabic.
No, because that is like a professional thing. Like assalamu alaikum
Bro,
wa
that guy looks like
rahmatullahi wa
he wants...
barakatuh, ahlan bikum ya mushahidin al-karam. Like that's all like
I don't
professional
like
use.
it. With those guys, they talk in a very romantic way, and
That's
I
what
don't
you
like
do,
it.
though, bro. Why
It
you do
makes
it
It doesn't make you feel nice.
It infringes on my ghira.
Wait, you know what's funny?
My pride.
What about
Infringes on
an
my
Egyptian airline? Like Subhanallah sakhkhara lana.
That's I love that.
I know,
that
but
so
like the
much.
guy, like he's so good. And the funniest thing is like when we're on the airline, you see a non-Muslim. He's like,
What's going on?
"What is this? Are they gonna crash the plane before?"
So after your sheikh went to Mauritania, he decided that he wanted to come back to America. So he traveled on his buraq back to America.
What is going on?
Why would you say that?
What is going
Astaghfirullah.
on?
Bro, that's because he became like spiritually enlightened, so he could travel very fast.
Wait. So you came. Wait, just to recap, you came back to America once, and you went back to Mauritania, and then.
And then I went back for 8 months to Mauritania.
Correct. And so now where we left off last time, you were feeling kind of like this stagnant.
Well, we got kind of past that. So now
Right.
I know I'm going back to the States. Well, while I'm in Mauritania, this is where things line up beautifully with me and Shaykh Omar Haqqani, okay? So Omar Haqqani now is in Damascus, right? And I am in Mauritania, and I meet this jamaat of Tunisian guys who are studying in Mauritania, and they're telling me about this place called Nadwa al-Ulama in India that they were recently in, right? And they're like, this is, I heard of, Nadwa al-Ulama, and I never really thought I would go there, but they were just like, you guys got to go there, you got to check it out. We just came from there, we visited, we went on this tour in India, and Nadwa al-Ulama for Arabic, we loved it very much. Even like we sat down with the teachers and we were studying with them and we loved it. So I call up Omar Haqqani, and I was like, man, I'm really thinking now about Nadwa al-Ulama and doing more research. Do you know anything about it? He's like, man, it's so crazy you ask me, because I'm considering going there too. And there's a guy here, Sheikh Abdul Majid Ghawri. He's a translator for Abu Hassan Nadwi's books in Syria, and he was tight with Sheikh Nuruddin Aitar rahimahullah, who just recently passed away, who was a muhaddith after he basically in one way or another took the place of Sheikh Abdul Fattah Abu Ghudda, Sheikh Nuruddin Aitar. So Abdul Majid Ghawri was his translator from Urdu books into Arabic, and doing lots of translation work there. And he's like, yo, Abdul Majid Ghawri's telling me to go there. Why don't we start researching it and find out about Nadwa al-Ulama And if you like it, you can stay. If not, you can just go back to Mauritania or whatever the case is. You know, since we have a few years now to kill, basically, because you know. So yeah.
So this is commonly known as Nadwa.
Nadwa, yeah.
Okay.
Nadwa.
Right. And this was like it's kind of a branch off of Deoband.
No, so Nadwa al-Ulama is its own breed. It's more in the spirit of it's not really too much tied to Deoband. It's got its own thing. It's kind of Ikhwani based, more of Ikhwani, Shaykh Yusuf Qaradawi, really heavy emphasis on Sayyid Qutb's works, and but it's another Imam
the founder, but the founder originally started off at Deoband, though, right?
Abu Hassan Nadwi, I don't think he was ever really a Deobandi scholar. Mm-hmm. He started off on in his own.
Okay.
And we can get into that through his father and Rai Bareli. He's originally from that place in North India. Mm-hmm. But
that's the benefit of having money and making sure that certain schools are getting that money.
Yeah.
Then you start making sure that the curriculum reflects.
Yeah.
The understanding of the source.
True. Mm-hmm. True.
If you get out what I'm saying,
yeah,
right?
Yeah. No, I got you.
So I'm sure that the Gulf money is helping.
Yeah, that's why Salman Nadwi is under. Salman Nadwi is under lots of scrutiny right now because he was speaking up against, you know, the Emirates and Saudi, and Nadwa was getting lots of funding. So Nadwa almost was like in the process of ostracizing Salman Nadwi, who was like the superstar. The nephew of Abu Hassan Ali al-Nadwi, who was the teacher of Bukhari and Muslim there. But he has his own madrasa too, but he's under a lot of scrutiny right now. Now, the beautiful thing is I'll tell you where he ties into Mauritania now. We're going to get into that, inshallah. Yeah. So anyways, now I come back to the States, and I'm corresponding with Sheikh Omar Haqqani about Nadwa. I'm doing more research in Nadwa. And then, to make a long story short, you know, we connect. And we're like, all right, you know what? Let's go to Umrah. We'll meet in Saudi Arabia. And then we'll go to India from there. So now the preparation begins. I'm trying to make some connections with Nadwa. But Haqqani's got all the connections because his guy, Abdul Majid Ghauri, has basically graduated from Nadwa. He's got lots of influence in Nadwa. He's like the man, right? So we end up going to Umrah. We set everything up. Umar Azam, we're in connection with him too. Haqqani's coming from Damascus to Saudi. I'm coming from the States. It's the first time I do Umrah actually ever. I go there. He picks me up from the airport. We had a whole lot of fun. We stay in a place called Sharfiya in Jeddah. Oh, wow. Yeah, we're kind of like in the hood, you know, surrounded by Indians, Pakistanis, and Bengalis. We're living in his uncle's house, or distant uncle, you know, relative. And then we go for Umrah. We meet Umar Azam up, you know, we had a really good time there. We ended up being there for about 3 weeks in Saudi Arabia, or almost a month, you know. In that process, you know, I'm just absorbing Saudi Arabia. I loved it, you know, for the short period that I was there. And then, you know, after lots of hospitality from the people of Saudi, you know, a lot of your relatives, mashallah, you know, we returned. I told them that
his ambassador.
Sim's ambassador.
Yeah, mashallah. That you mentioned my name, people will help you.
Yeah, they did. Mashallah, they all knew you. The king.
Say Imran Al Madani.
Yeah.
Imran. I can't even call you Imran, bro. It's so hard to call you Imran.
I never knew your name was Imran for long.
It was true that Sheikh Abdul Muhsin Abad was inquiring about him, right? He like when Sheikh Amir walked into Masjid Nabawi and Sheikh Abdul Muhsin Abad was given a dars, and he's like, oh, he stopped the dars, and they welcomed him because he was like,
everybody stand. Sim's ambassador is
here. Bro, you go with me to Medina. You just follow my lead.
Oh yeah,
I'll take you where you need to go.
Of course.
Cleaning company manager.
Usually.
Anyways,
so yeah, go ahead.
But like so. Just to correlate back to recap, you left Mauritania because one of the reasons was you could study there, but it's a long journey and there's no certificate, right?
And
something to get credibility when you, because eventually your goal was like eventually come back to the United States. It would require something a little bit more like on paper.
Yeah.
Right.
It would require a little more on paper, and just to keep my parents, you know, and one thing I definitely didn't mention, obviously, is to thank my parents. I don't know which parents in their right mind, knowing me and the type of person I was, to just trust me at the age of like 19, 20 to just go abroad and study, and I didn't know anybody there, and Like now, the older you get, you realize when you have kids, like, dude, what were they thinking? Like, why would they let me do that?
They probably were like, well, if we lose them, we got other kids already.
Yeah, we got 4 other ones. Yeah,
He's expendable.
Yeah, he is.
No, I think your parents are something special.
No, they are, dude. No, they're special. My parents are special. I obviously,
Mashallah,
now that I think, mashallah, man,
and I love your dad. Like, I know him.
So do I, you know.
I remember the last time, like, my dad and your dad met, like, they were in the Home Depot and they're both holding each other's beards. It was the most golden moment.
Why would they hold each other's beards?
Because they're out of love. They were just like going like this and like they get aged together.
That's actually Arab tradition, you know, where you touch the beard of the person. We'll
as
talk
long
about
as
that.
it remains on the beard.
Do you remember the who was it? Was it Suhail ibn Amr in Hudaybiyah?
Yeah.
Suhail ibn Amr, he came to.
He held on to the beard.
He held, but the man was in the armor and he was hitting his hand away. Remember that? Yeah, it was his son or his nephew. It was probably
his nephew.
But he was touching the beard of Rasulullah, and he was in armor, and he was with the butt of his sword. He was hitting his arm, his hand, because he's going to reach the beard of Muhammad to talk to him, right? And while they're talking, it's just something they do, right? The Arabs did, and he was like, the man who's doing this, he's such a wicked person. He didn't know who it was because he was like almost like the bodyguard of Rasulullah, but he was all in armor. And he said, if your hand reaches for the beard of Rasulullah again, you're not going to find it anymore. You're not going to have the hand anymore.
I'm gonna cut it.
Right? And then that man says to Muhammad, he goes, man, look how wicked this person is. I never want to have anything to do with him. And Muhammad says, do you know who that is? That's your nephew, dude.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
So you know where this comes from? Even happens in Yemen, by the way, a different way though. What they'll do is, let's say you're selling something and you want to we want to arbitrate about something. So what I'll do is I'll grab your ear and I'll hold it.
Wow.
Until I keep making offers until you accept it, and then I'll let it go. So it's kind of like, I got you. Like, we're gonna make a deal now so it's kind of like in that way where like, okay, we're gonna arbitrate.
It's beautiful.
Now. Yeah,
it's a beautiful culture.
But anyways, and by the way, that was the first thing I did to Amr when I started. Remember when the van I came, I just.
Yeah, I remember that.
Had to grab a beard.
I don't like it one bit. But
you don't. Yeah, you don't. Yeah, you won't know the moment
so
that me and Amr
had, because he was in Syria also doing like private studies.
He was studying University of Damascus, the Arabic program, University of Damascus. You know, I talked to him before. I said, can I let in all the details about India and everything? He said, yeah, so we're good. So we start heading. Like, we couldn't believe it's happening. Like, wow. Because for me now, it's like, okay, I have somebody that's with me that's going to be doing the same exact thing as me. Somebody who I went to high school and everything with. You know, we were boys. So it was a whole different type of feeling now, right? And I needed that because I didn't want to go alone to India, you know. So anyways, that being said, we get into Hyderabad. I go with my side of the family. They pick me up. They live in the outskirts in the village area of India. Haqqani's staying in Hyderabad, and then we're finding ways. We still have a few months, so I'm trying to get myself prepared for the school. So obviously I'm looking up the curriculum and, you know, memorizing more Quran. So that was a thing on its own. We were in Hyderabad for like 2 months before Nadwa started. So I really, really got well acquainted with Hyderabad. Then I would live with Haqqani for a while because he was living with his relatives, memorizing Quran, trying to do everything I can. In Hyderabad was a weird situation too, man, you know. Because I was living there kind of alone. I got my own apartment, and just getting acclimated to where you're originally from is really weird. But remember how I said Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala always gives you these certain signs, right?
Your family's originally Hyderabadi?
Yeah, but I mean, everyone's in the States now. Everybody.
You have no family there?
My mother's side is there, but they're like way far away, like, you know, like 100 miles away from Hyderabad now.
Gotcha.
So I'm looking for a place. I finally find this place where it's like a shared place of Somali and Yemeni students that are there studying IT, and there's like this building where a bunch of students live, and I live in this small room, which is probably like the size of this room right here, and there's like a shared bathroom and all that kind of stuff. And I'm just there primarily to memorize and review Quran before I go to Nadwa and review some Arabic and stuff, so I find some teachers there. So now I call up my parents and I said, okay, I'm officially in Hyderabad now. I'm like, oh, where are you living? And I was like, oh, it's a place called Humayun Nagar. They're like, Humayun Nagar? I was like, yeah, like, you mean by Masjid Aziziyah and the you know, on the roundabout of Mehdi Patnam Chaurasta. They're like, yeah, like that's where we used to live when we were in India, when we were in Hyderabad. I was like, what are you talking about? They're like, yeah, is that Masjid Aziziyah? Like, they call it the Ek Minar Masjid of Aziziyah. I was like, yeah. They're like, that's where we lived, right across that masjid. It was still really small, and your dad used to give the adhan there. My dad used to give adhan, and when Naveed was little, my oldest brother, he was 4 years old. He used to give adhan there too. And I was like, "Are you sure?" Like, yeah, right next to that girls' school, and there's like a graveyard there, Humayun's grave. I was like, "Yeah, like we're." So the place where I was living was like 50 steps from where my parents lived in Hyderabad.
That's insane.
Out of all the places.
And people don't understand. Hyderabad was a very large city.
And after that, you have no idea the type of tranquility. Because, you're like nervous. You're like in a new place and everyone's like, they know you're American. And you know that there's true stories of people literally looting you and like robbing you because of
you just randomly picked that place.
Random. I was looking
of all the places in...
One dude in the masjid told me, hey, I think this place is for rent. But it's kind of distant from here. It's insane. Not even the neighborhood where I was memorizing Quran in. It's like it's this place. And my parents like, yeah, that's where basically we were in Hyderabad.
Wow.
So that was your dad's old stomping grounds.
That's my dad's old stomping, the masjid that they used to go to. Right? And that's so... all that said and done, there's lots of detail to this. But now it's time for us to head to Nadwa. So me and Haqqani, we get together, all these people there. My mama was there because my mama was there, rahimahullah. He just recently passed away from COVID. They see us off at the train, and I wasn't sure. Like some people saying it's 20 hours, some people saying it's 50 hours, but it's like a 33 to 34 hour train ride
from Hyderabad to
Nadwa.
So this is going from south to north.
Yeah, and this is crazy story.
By the way, did you give the adhan at the masjid?
I didn't give the adhan at the masjid. It was a cool masjid though.
Okay.
That's where I used to pray. So now we're all settled and everything. We're kind of burnt out from meeting people. So now me and Haqqani are in this train, and we're like, all right, this is going to be a 33-hour ride. We got to figure out things to do, and we get a nice, comfortable seating and all that. And it's the evening time. The first night we're on the train, Haqqani's like, man, this is like horrible. We got to sit in one place. Let's walk around a little bit in the train, like through the carts and the whatever you want to call it, the cabins, right? Everyone's asleep. Haqqani starts wandering around, and I'm just kind of seeing him from a distance, and I start following him. And then I kind of just go back in my area, and all of a sudden I hear some screaming and yelling, and I'm like, what the heck's going on? And then there's two security guards that are holding onto Haqqani's shirt. And they come to me like, is this the guy that's with you? They're like, yeah, come with me. And they grab us and they take us. This dude was a pretty big dude. Like he's a security guy with guns and everything. And he grabs Haqqani, and Haqqani's let go of me. I'm like, hey, let go of him. He's like, acha, pailwan hai tu. You think you're a tough guy, huh? So they grab us and they're taking him to the train conductor, and the guy's just cussing us. What are you guys doing? And this and that, walking around. We didn't know that if you walk around from cab to cab in a train at night, they think you're thieves.
Oh.
So like you're pickpocketing.
They thought we were thieves, bro. Mm-hmm. And the guy's like, we could do this right. We could kill you right now. No one's going to know, and all this kind of crap. We're like, what? The America card didn't even work either. They're like, okay, we're students from America. I was like, they're like, F you. You're not from America. You guys are from America riding this train? Yeah, right. And we're like, whatever. And, I was like, dude, Haqqani, just don't resist, bro. We don't want nothing to happen.
Why don't you show your password?
Dude, it was all the way back there.
Why don't you speak regular English?
It doesn't, dude, none of that matters, okay? None of that matters right now. It's 3 a.m. right now. Everyone's asleep, all right? So all that happens, and then we basically go back to our, beds, and we pass out, and we're like, man, that was a crazy morning.
But like what?
Wait, what happened? Wait.
You skipped that part?
Wait, they just let you go?
They just let us go eventually because they knew that we weren't Indian, you know what I'm saying? We were thinking, like, hey, should we bribe them? Like, Haqqani's like, no, forget it, dude. Let's go to sleep. And, we woke up, in the morning. We were nice and fresh. We go to Delhi from there. That was our next stop.
Where's the restrooms at these trains?
They have restrooms.
No, but I was gonna ask you about that. How is like the sleeping quarter? Is it like one of the ones?
No, we got a
movies?
comfortable one. The AC ones. That one I rode later. I'll tell you about that later when I came back to Hyderabad. That was insane.
Okay.
Where everyone's just sitting on top of each other and everyone's just literally people are like. I was standing for like 10 hours, dude. It was insane.
My God.
Because it was cheap, and I was like, oh, it can't be that bad.
Wait, you can't even sit down?
No, there's so many people, dude.
You're standing for 10 hours.
Yeah, so when we went, Haqqani's smart. He got us the AC cab where not too many people can afford. You know, except for if you know. So we were like in these like nice AC bunk beds and
AC means air conditioning.
air conditioning.
Yeah.
Okay.
So the other ones where they just sell the ticket, and I don't think they really keep track of how many people are
They
coming
don't.
on.
It's just
so
you jump
they
on.
sell the ticket, and then when you get in there, it's like standees and like
Yep.
first come first serve.
And even if you have a bed, if you set one up where you reserve one, there's gonna be like 5 people sitting on it. You're not gonna sleep. That's how it works. And people can literally
That's
like
nasty.
mean mug you and push you off if they want. Like, what are you gonna do in the like? Imagine.
What
like,
about bed bugs?
You're a pretty big guy compared to like most Indians, right? You should knock somebody out.
Yeah, it's. I'm not gonna like knock somebody out for no reason though, you know. But
I mean, for taking your bed.
This is Shaykh Amir. Listen
Okay.
to your shift.
No.
He's not gonna
listen.
knock anyone out.
Let's just focus on our way to Nadwa right now.
Okay.
Okay.
So we're in comfortable bedding. It's good. It's extra pay. You know.
So you woke up fresh.
We woke up fresh. We're good.
All right.
We go to Delhi. We pick up, remember Abdul Majid Ghauri? He's in Delhi. Now he's taking us to Nadwa and he's going to escort us there. We get to Nadwa at nighttime. Abdul Majid Ghauri tells us, just for this night, sleep in the masjid. Because the guest house, we were supposed to be in the guest house. Guest house was full. So me and Haqqani end up sleeping in the masjid where a bunch of students are, kind of like an orientation type thing going on there because school's about to start. We go to sleep there. And ever since we got there, this is where different types of hardships begin, right? Remember Mustafa Omar,
Yep.
who was on our podcast?
Mm-hmm.
He was there too.
He was already there.
He was already there.
Yeah.
We find him later. So we find out there's some other guys from the States over there, and we're like, just keep an eye out or whatever. And now the next day, we're trying to find a way to get into the dorms because we want to stay in the dorms. It's a lot easier. Food is set up over there for you. You're right next to the masjid. You're on campus. It's literally right next to campus. But things started getting difficult. Our hunch was, and our idea was that we're from the States and people are just going to give us a hard time for bribery and all that kind of stuff. The school is awesome. Administration was horrible. They were like, okay, you can't register here. You have to go somewhere else. It's just straightforward. You're there. They know you just trekked like the other side of the world. Like, oh, so do you have this paperwork? Oh, you don't? Okay, so you can't come to school here. Like, what do you mean we can't come to school here? Like, yeah, go. And they just like kick us out of the office. And we're like, what is going on here? Like, and then we're like talking to people out there. Like, I don't know. You just got to talk to administration and this and that. So then they're like, okay, you're not citizens here. You don't have the proper paperwork. You have to get this paperwork. We get all that paperwork from the embassy. We come back. This is like a week process of us going to this embassy, trying to make connections, talking to people, and they're like, no, you can't. So then Haqqani finds this thing online. We go to the internet cafe, which is a hike, right? We got to take this rickshaw to the internet cafe. We're doing as much research online as we can. And then we found out, Haqqani found this thing called this PIO card, or person of Indian origin card that you get. It's like a passport. And if you can prove you're originally from India, like your parents, then you get this 10-year pseudo passport. Then you could do anything. You could work, you could invest, you could do all that kind of stuff. So then we get this PIO card. That's a whole process. We got to talk to our parents. They fax us this paperwork. We got to take pictures. We got to send it to the American embassy, expedite it. It comes back to us. And it was like a huge mess, dude. It was like a 2-week process altogether now. So we're there for 3 weeks. And now we're just like getting like fed up. Like, dude, should we just head back now? I mean, like, this doesn't seem like it's going anywhere. And if I were to tell you how painful and gruesome this process was, you'd be like, dude, you guys are crazy. I would have left after a few days. It was that bad. To the point where one of the students that was there is like, you know what you have to do? We've kind of seen this situation before. You just have to get a box of mithai and put some money inside of it. Sweets, yeah. And give it to this guy who's responsible for taking care of all of the students and all that kind of stuff and administration, and you should be fine. And we're like, dude, I don't know if I want to do that.
And you're crashing at the masjid still?
No, we were renting this place out, and I'll tell you about that. We're renting this place out. And in the process, we're like contemplating, like, dude, should we just bribe this guy? I mean, it's like everyone does it this way, and we're still waiting for our paperwork. Meanwhile, me and Haqqani find this place.
Wait, how long has it been now?
It's been about 2 to 3 weeks.
2 to 3 weeks?
This process, yeah.
Wait, and you're just chilling.
We're not chilling. We're trying to day and night. We're just trying to make this thing work.
But where are you staying?
We're staying in this apartment.
Okay, that apartment. Okay.
So there's this guy who's a landlord who has this huge house, breaks it all up into a bunch of little rooms, tiny rooms. Like the room that we had was probably about the size of this room. Me and Haqqani were living in shared bathroom. There's a bunch of students living in that, and it's literally like a 5-minute walk from Nadwa.
Yeah.
So we're not in the dorms. And the outskirts, and you can ask your brother, he lived there too. The area is a very, very difficult place to live as far as cleanliness and filth and open sewage. It gets hot and all the steam from the open sewage. Your clothes and everything smells like an open
I
sewer.
remember this.
I love the smell of fresh sewage in the morning.
No, I remember when I was talking to you guys on MSN, you guys were miserable. You're like, man, I remember he was talking to me and he's like, bro, Mort, man, I've never been so traumatized, bro. I saw like dogs like just in the sewer and like animals just like eating
Pigs.
off other things and
Remember the black pigs you would always talk about?
Yeah. So check this out. Right by our house.
So his brother showed up at that point too?
Yeah, his brother showed up later. We'll talk about his brother's thing. So so there's open sewage. Now the crazy thing is it's really hot. Even though we went in the cooler season, the days that it gets hot, imagine you open the door and there's just like humidity of like sewage in your face.
Basically diarrhea. Just like somebody like
And imagine one day, like I go in the bathroom, I come back home from where we're at getting some groceries or whatever, and I'm about to take a shower and my clothes smell like sewage. And the water that's coming off of your washing is like all like dark in the sink, and obviously we were sick for a while. We all got our own types of sicknesses, which I'll get into. But the landlord that we have is this guy who's super stingy. All right. You're not allowed to have a heater in your room. You're not allowed to have this. You're not allowed to use electricity except this. And he's got like these measures set out. And he walks in every day. It's like you're living in some boarding school, even though it's like you're renting his place. Like he shouldn't have any business. Like, and like there's like this meter, this electric meter. I still remember as soon as you walk in, and if it goes above, I think it was like 80 or something for the whole downstairs area, he'd make everyone open their doors and see what they're doing and that kind of stuff.
Wow.
And this is a place that you're renting, but he can do that, I guess. So Haqqani, being this guy who's like kind of like he's kind of like Mort to a certain degree, where he can like figure out things, and so there's this light bulb thing. This is a really, really funny part of our stay in this place. So there's like this fixture for a light bulb, and that has to be like an energy saving one that he gives you. So it's kind of dim. So Haqqani, he goes to the store, he goes to the electric store, he gets this special connector that you connect to it, and we get this heater, and we connect the heater, and we put it on the ground, and it's just racking up this guy's bill, right? And the funny thing is that it's like so warm and toasty. I felt bad for the other guys because their rooms are all cold. The other students.
But isn't it India? Isn't it always hot?
Not at nighttime, not in the wintertime.
Okay.
At nighttime it was cold. And we're there in the wintertime. Daytime there's like 2 hours where it can get really hot and then it goes back to cold. Kind of like in the desert. So one day, right, out of all the other adventures we had on a daily basis there, I think it was a weekend, and the guy, he doesn't suspect us. And he's like, overloading. And when he says that, I guess you just have to open the doors and he's going to check your room, right? And he's
like a
fighting.
boarding school.
He's fighting with these other kids, but they're not students at Nadwa. They're students at this other university of Lucknow that's right next to Nadwa, right? And he's fighting with them, and they're like, no, we're not doing anything, I swear, and this and that. So he's going through all the doors, right? And then we're like, oh, he's not going to knock on our door. 5 seconds later, he knocks on our door, right? And then Haqqani's like, all right, disconnect it. And Haqqani had this whole setup underneath his bed where he has a suitcase. He puts the heater inside of there, closes it, covers it with clothes, and puts it underneath his bed. But we're not doing it. He's like, Kolo. The guy's like, mad. We're like, hold on, wait 1 second. We're opening the door. Don't worry. We do all of that. And then he opens the door, and there's like draft of heat. He senses this heat, right? And he's like, यहाँ तो बहुत काफी गर्मी है. It's so warm over here. It's pretty warm over here. And he's like, yeah, overloading. And even though the room is so small, the guy's like literally right there. I'm like acting like I'm folding towels. I'm not even looking. I'm like letting Haqqani do all of it. And it's like usual. Like he comes out, we're like, hey, how are you? I'm like acting like I'm folding. I'm literally like folding a towel and putting it in. I still remember it was a beige color towel. And he's like, yeah, overloading. He's acting Haqqani's like, Haqqani is so stubborn. We're in Lucknow. I'm trying to like speak good Urdu when I'm there. Haqqani total hydro. They have no idea what hydro Urdu is.
Yeah.
He's like, यहाँ पर तो कुछ भी नहीं हो रहा. And he's like, eh? That's how they talk when they say Han. They're like, eh? And he's like, nee, and this and that. He's like, okay. And the guy's like so suspicious because he's trying to look around. He didn't see anything. The plug, the outlets, there's nothing plugged in. There's nothing that. And before we did this, we used to just use those, like those little stoves. Everyone has those mini gas stoves. And I just used to turn that on, and that's how we used to heat up the room, kind of. And to take a shower, that's what we used to heat the water up in there, and then take that bucket, pour it inside of a bucket, and take a bath like that, in that tiny shared bath. And even those, the bulbs in there were so dim you could barely see anything. The guy was super stingy, trying to make the most out of all of this. Finally, we're like trying really, really hard, and Haqqani finds this other place which is a lot better, and the landlord was a good Muslim dude. He respected us a lot because we were students. The process of looking for a place, this is before school even starts yet. Mm-hmm. School starts now, and we're still looking for a place.
Wait, so how many weeks did it take to get that thing done?
Everything was maybe about a month.
And how much is rent that dingy spot? Like a US
dingy
dollar?
spot is pretty dingy. Oh man, I can't even remember.
All because you guys didn't want to buy a box of sweets for that guy and get
we
your
weren't
stuff.
Sure if that was going to be insulting or it was just a really.
He didn't want to bribe his way for Islamic knowledge.
Bro, I would have been day 2. I would have been trying to bribe people.
That's why you're not a student of knowledge.
No, I'm.
That's why you don't have barakah with you.
Bro, I want to be a student of Ruqya though.
Inshallah, you will.
What are you gonna do?
You
Bribe
can be
the
a
guy to
specimen.
teach you?
Bro, it's a big game. You can make a lot of money
What are you
now.
gonna do? Bribe him?
I was considering that too, bro. I'm just saying. I just went to a Ruqya recently with.
We'll talk after the show.
Yeah, we'll talk after the show. Anyways,
Chicago Ruqya.
The amount of houses. Remember, North India is super, super Hindu conservative.
Yeah.
You can't sacrifice cows there. Muslims there don't eat beef. And if they do, it's like the ones who can afford it eat like buffalo meat or bison meat. Even that the Hindus don't like. But the search for a flat or an apartment was crazy. Amount of houses and Hindu houses I had to go to look at. Like one of the houses we saw, which was cheaper, it was really nice and furnished, but outside, imagine if they made the house, the building look like a mandir, like their temple, right? And they had all these flags and all this writing over the house, and all the front to have like all of this like Hindu script and engraved, and when you go in there, they're lighting incense, and even in the rooms they have all these pictures of Ganesh and all those different Hindu gods and stuff like that. You can't take them down, you have to have them there even if you're renting. And I was like, and then I stumble upon this Muslim guy, and he introduces me to the place that me and Haqqani end up living in. And even that place was crazy. Like the place we lived in, it was considered like a luxury kind of. It was one room with a bathroom. But right behind our house, we never opened our back windows because there was an open sewage right there. And people actually just used the bathroom right there. Like in that open sewage area. It was disgusting, right? But the light at the end of the tunnel was we finally get in. It was such a sigh of relief. And then we started going to school there. The first day of school, we just hit it off with the teachers. They're so nice to you because they know you're from the States. And the amount of information that we were learning it was just like, man, this is beautiful. And me and Haqqani opted in for the Arabic medium, not the Urdu medium. And the beautiful thing about that is that the Arabic medium obviously is all taught in Arabic, but a majority of the students with you are not Indians. There's students from Thailand, from Malaysia, from the different parts of South India, from Kerala and Calcutta and all these areas. And we became, especially me, I became friends with the Thai guys because they were just really good dudes. They were really nice. They all knew Muay Thai, right? They were all like beasts. They were really tiny dudes, but there's stories about them getting in fights with like 5 of them, like taking on like 30 Hindus and stuff, and fighting with Hindus. Crazy stories. But when we started studying with the teachers I still remember our Dars of Mishkat al-Masabih, which is a book, a compilation of 6,000 plus hadith of all the 6 books of hadith plus more, which is a very dependent upon hadith in the Dars of Nizami. There was a certain type of comfort that me and Haqqani started feeling. We're like, dude, everything we went through, this is something else, man, because the teacher would just sit down with us and go through all of these hadith, and students are asking questions. It's like when we were there, we didn't feel like we were in India anymore. When we were in those darses, and then you realize why people trek to go to India to study hadith, because of the importance that's given to hadith at that level of studying. You're not going to find anywhere. And the respect for knowledge that you see, like you even see like parents when we're growing up, you shouldn't even, especially like even just education and knowledge, you shouldn't put it on the ground, books, even secular study books. And So the amount of respect that we were seeing, I think we really, really needed that as far as our adab for knowledge and ilm was concerned, right? And when we got there, one story I forgot to mention now is Sheikh Salman Nadwi. Omar Haqqani had a letter to give to him from Abdul Majid Ghori also, and that's where our communication started. And when I mentioned to Sheikh Muhammad al-Hassan Dedo before I left Mauritania, I said, I'm contemplating visiting Nadwa al-Ulama. And he says, I am actually a classmate of Sheikh Salman Nadwi. Me and him both have ijazah from Abdul Fattah Abu Ghudda in hadith. So if you meet him, give him my salams because he's from amongst the righteous. He said, فَإِنَّهُ مِنَ الصَّالِحِينَ. He's from amongst the people who are the salihin. So give him my salam. And when we were talking to him, he was just really busy. He was looking down and talking like, yeah. And I said, I also have a message from Sheikh Muhammad al-Hassan Dedo. He stopped what he was doing. He's like, Sheikh Muhammad al-Hassan, you know him? He was really surprised. And I was like, yeah. And he said, to make sure that I give you salams because he feels that you're from the salihin. And the guy was just like totally shaken up as soon as I said that. Ever since then, our relationship was awesome. When he saw us, Sheikh Salman Nadwi, he would go out of his way. I think there were some rumblings that occurred now in Nadwa of the teachers, and they knew that we were people that came from away and were connected. And after that, everything changes. When Allah in the Quran says, Inna ma'al usri yusra, after hardship comes ease, like there's no way I can explain to you in words how miraculous that verse is based on this experience. Right? Like that was, I think, the embodiment of what we first felt when everything kind of settled. It's as if Allah was testing us, because we're claiming that we want to learn, Allah's knowledge, sacred text. And in the beginning, I think we just had to roll with those punches. And I think we ended up doing a decent job being patient. And now all the teachers were like almost on a name basis. They're inviting us over to eat at their house. They're cooking food for us. And me and Haqqani are just going and eating. I thought I'd be losing weight. And I'm gaining weight now, from the grace of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And our teachers were such amazing people that eventually, because we were different minds too in our classroom, right? It was just a classroom of students that were kind of the culture of India where you don't really argue with the teacher and debate with the teacher. Me and Haqqani come from a much different, Haqqani more so, he's very ambitious and he starts asking some questions like, what about this and what about that? But if you say this, then why do people scrutinize the Hanafi madhab so much and stuff, right? And the cool thing is that the Arabic medium is considered where all the Shafi'is study, because all the guys that come from Thailand and from South India, they're all Shafi'is, right? So we're the only two like students that are basically Hanafi that are amongst the Shafi'is, right? So we're getting a cool twist on of how Shafi'i fiqh is taught in India, right? From teachers who are Shafi'i, because they come from a place called Bhatkal in India that are predominantly Shafi'is, right? And they're very, very well versed. So now me and Haqqani are on a mission to find where can we study Hanafi fiqh while we're studying this in the evenings when we have extra time on a daily basis or at least every other day, but in a rigorous program. So there happens to be another Hyderabadi guy that sees us there, Kamran. Crazy story. So Kamran, Sheikh Kamran, is obviously, he has a PhD and everything now in Sharia. We see this guy and he recognized us from Hyderabad for some reason. Him and Haqqani end up being buddies, and obviously myself. And he's like, what? Me and this graduate student, we're actually about to start the revision of Hidayah. Hidayah is one of the most dependent upon Hanafi books. It's a very advanced book. He's like, you guys can sit in with us, and you guys can ask questions, and it can end up being all of our class, like 4 people: the teacher, Sheikh Kamran, who's the student, and you two can be the students too. Just observe, and if you like it, you stay with us. And we're like, Hidayah? Oh, for sure, dude. We'll jump in with you, no problem. And we end up with this class where the two teacher and the student are studying, but we're observers. And the reason why this is beautiful is we see a whole different type of study occurring because we're observers in a classroom of 2 people who are considered specialists. But what specialists do generally is, even if something's a basic book and they study it many times in the Muslim world, they go back to that book and restudy the whole thing over again because now they're in a different mindset. They're in a much so we have 2 specialists, and us 2 are basically observing them 2 learning and teaching each other. So I thought, and I felt, me and Haqqani felt that our knowledge, our understanding was much better this way than if we were studying in a group setting. So Allah is constantly favoring us on different ways of studying. You know what I'm saying? We would know. I don't think anyone would have this type of setup, right? I think it was beautiful. Even if we were studying one-on-one, it wouldn't be the same. So now we're studying, we're getting through, and now Haqqani is just barrage with questions, questioning them, and they're not used to these type of questions, right? And they're like, "Wow, you're asking these interesting questions. We're not used to this type of, someone being this ambitious and asking questions, like thinking out of the box." To the point, sometimes I'm like, "Dude, Haqqani, stop asking these questions, bro. You're disturbing their class." Right? And they're like, no, we need this. We never had anybody ask us these type of questions. So now we become a part of their research, and they start asking us, okay, life in America, how's this? How is female-male relationship when we're talking about like nikah and all these things, and in prayer, and then we open up this huge world to them, and now they're very, very almost constantly asking us questions how life in America is, and they're thinking about how that would apply to ruling and fiqh.
Did you guys tell them about the unruly women that we have over here?
Or gender fluidity?
I don't know what you're talking about. Women are amazing.
The women who want to lead
We're the
prayers.
oppressors. We're the bad people as men. We should be ashamed of being men. Anyways, so that being said, I hope I answered your question.
Thank you.
Answer you. So now there's something really interesting about this dude Kamran that I was talking about, right? So he's like, "Oh, why don't you guys come over and eat at my place?" And then we start getting together more often. And one day, me and Haqqani are sitting in his place. He's like, "Oh, you might know my brother, man. He lives in America. Where does he live? In Chicago." We're like, "What?" He's like, "Yeah, I have a brother that lives in Chicago." I was like, "No, you don't." He's like, "Yeah, look, I have a picture of his kids. These are his kids. Oh, and look, this is my brother. I saw him. He's one of the guys. Do you know the guy, the Imam in Masjid Uthman? The guy who wears a turban, the Tablighi dude? With the really deep voice. He reads like Abdullah Basfar, one of those.
Yeah.
He's like the guy, one of the main guys in Masjid Uthman. Him, Talha Ali, and Abdul Hakim Dickinson. The third guy is the Imam, who was the Imam in Masjid Uthman. Yeah. And I knew him since I was a little kid, because he used to lead at CPSA in the nighttime, in the Masjid of CPSA. I was like, "This is your brother, dude. I grew up with him." And then he's like, "Yeah, this is my other brother." His other brother is Noman. The guy, remember the first guy who started Medina Market?
Yeah.
On Roosevelt Road?
Yeah.
That's his brother.
Oh.
And when he came to America...
They're Hyderabadi, right?
They're Hyderabadi.
Oh, yeah.
And when he came to America, this guy, Noman, my brother, Naveed, used to hang out with him. He's like a year older than Naveed or whatever, but I've known him since I was a little kid. I was like, "Dude, I've known your brother since I was like 8 years old."
Wow.
And I can't believe this. And later on, I find out that the kids that I'm teaching at IFS are their kids. I still teach one of his kids.
Wow.
Noman's, right? And an IFS. And all this is connected to this guy, Kamran.
Wait, who was Bosifius?
Huh?
You said Bosifius. Bosfor Bosifius.
Oh, Sheikh, now I'm forgetting his name. Abdullah Basfar, who's a reciter.
Yes.
Bosifius is Alexander the Great's horse.
I don't know what to do, bro. I'm like on this train of thought. You know, like when you're really onto something and your mind is just firing,
same with
and
the best
someone
at just cutting it off.
puts water on it to completely dilute it. That's what just did to my intellect, bro. Who's Vesuvius?
Vesuvius is a very important figure.
Cool.
He's a very famous horse.
Since Sim broke his train of thought, I guess to interject my thought here now. But it's always funny though how when you're traveling overseas and you meet people that I mean, you know them, but you would have never met them, like it would place. Like, okay, I met so many people from Chicago, from the States, while I'm traveling, and I would never bump into them here. Like, I'll give you an example of someone that we both know that we bumped into. How many times have I bumped into Ashraf randomly, like overseas?
Ashraf who?
Ashraf
Hasbullah. Oh yeah.
Oh.
So many times. I bumped into him in Egypt. I bumped him in Dubai. I bumped him, yeah, just randomly. Like
I had a story about him in City Stars Mall in Egypt.
We'll get with that later. But yeah,
Egypt.
but it's crazy how Allah makes you meet. And people don't realize, but when you're traveling and you don't know anybody, and that even someone who knows someone that you know, it kind of makes you at ease.
Yeah. Dude, you couldn't have said
it's a ni'mah, like you don't really understand.
It's literally tranquility in your heart. You forget about everything and you realize it's Allah's communication with you.
Yeah.
You know?
I was at Umrah with my family, and I bumped into a brother. He's like, "Oh, mashallah, you know, you and your wife, you guys can have dinner." And I'm like, "Dude, that's my daughter." Shut up. You think I have a child pride?
Could they tell she looks so much like you?
Yeah, I don't know.
Is it the one brother we met?
Huh? Yeah.
The same guy? Okay. Yeah, because Sim and I met at Umrah too.
Yeah.
Well, I'm
Did
surprised
you?
they didn't
Yeah,
recognize the status in Medina while you were there.
Wait,
They didn't
when
know
you
who
guys
were.
met
No,
in
it was-
Umrah, did you
no,
guys
it
know
was
each other
Mecca.
before that?
No, yeah, this is post podcast.
Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we knew we were gonna go to Umrah.
That's pretty awesome.
This is like probably the first year of the podcast.
Yeah.
And there was another brother who's roommates with one of our former guests who
Yeah.
met us up, and we were like hanging outside the Masjid Nabawi real briefly. So that dude said
Yeah.
he mentioned.
That's messed up, bro.
Oh, bro, that's
That's
my dog.
cringy.
Anyway,
Hey, so-
before. Okay, go
So
ahead.
Kamran is like, he already had his PhD.
He was working on his master's right now. They call it Fazilat. The Fazilat phase where it's 2 years of doing his master's. And he was just about done, and he was in Darul Ifta now, in the Fatwa department.
Gotcha.
The department where people send in questions, you do the Fatwa,
Yeah.
you answer it, and then the teacher who's your mentor checks it, and then if it's good, he stamps it, or he adds whatever to it, and then he stamps it, so it says stamped by this for the Fatwa department. So anyways... And it's awesome that you mentioned that, because when we were in Mauritania, we had names for people that there's one dude there that we called Uruj. My cousin's name is Uruj, right? And there's one guy who looked, so me and Tariq were like, it's almost like the same time, it's like, bro, he looks like Uruj, right? And then we just started calling him Uruj. We forgot his name. And we just started calling him Uruj. And every time we saw him, we felt such tranquility. We felt like we were back home, you know?
Yeah.
We felt, so Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala obviously never ceases to amaze us, man. So let's come back to India now. So now, that entire process, there's a dilemma that starts reoccurring, right? So the cool thing is that people there knew Dogar Sahib. Some of the guys who were responsible for Hadith scholar, the Hadith scholar, I forget his name.
Okay, you're dropping names. You gotta explain who.
I'm going to explain that. So one of the founders of the masjid that we grew up in, the founder, his name was Abdul Hamid Dogar, rahimahullah, who recently passed away. Almost like internationally known because of the work that he put into our masjid. When we go and meet one of the scholars, the person who's basically responsible for all the education in Nadwa, he's like, I heard you guys are from the States. I just want to meet you guys. I want to have a meeting with you guys. What's happening with, he knows Mullah Abdullah Salim. He's like, what's happening with Mullah Abdullah Salim? This. I was like, oh, you know him? Like, yeah. Because, he's from North India. He's like, do you guys know Abdul Hamid Dogar? We're like, yeah. I was like, of course. I grew up in that masjid. He's like, man, he's such an awesome person. He's such a hard worker. We talk to him at least once or twice a year, and all that kind of stuff. And I was like, wow. That made us even more comfortable, talking about all these people. And
Yeah, because you grew up with them.
Yeah.
So it's like, okay, if they're cool with them, then I can be cool with you.
Yeah.
Right? It's a certain comfort level.
Yeah.
Right? Like, yeah.
Very
and to be
comfortable.
honest, I remember when I was like, and I was surprised because I met someone in Saudi Arabia who knew of Maulana Abdul Salim.
Yeah.
And I didn't, apparently he's a big deal in some ways, right?
Yeah.
And I didn't realize that. But they were like, oh, yeah. I had someone who talked about Hafiz Amin, and I was like, oh, wow, these guys were like, we
take them for granted.
Yeah, well, not only that, you don't realize their status. Like, for example,
Realize your status. You're right.
Yeah. Like, for example, like when someone says, you guys have Hafiz, Maulana Amin in Chicago. Even now, I'm just like, oh, he's just that's Hafiz, bro. That's like, that's just like the guy. You know what I mean? Like, he's, I still remember him as being the guy who come to a young man who came to my basement and would just give dars to teach Quran, whatever. Like, just so you take advantage of that. Like, for example, so many of the people I bet you in Mauritania, they probably didn't realize like if you ask them about, like, for example, when I was in Jeddah and we sat in the dars of Ali Shanqiti, people don't realize that, like, oh my God, like, he doesn't, like, they don't realize that, you have it for granted. Like, if I tell people I'm from America, and the fact that you have a guy who's a mufassir who's giving like a whole tafsir on 2 ayah of the Quran for an hour, for us to be like, wow, that's like, you have knowledge right here, right? This. But I mean, for them, it's like, it's the imam of the masjid. He comes, he's there. You know what I mean? Like,
I got you.
You know what I mean? So that kind of thing is like it always mind boggles me. Like, it's just like you don't realize it.
Yeah. The human
Sheikh, where were you at?
So they start the Sheikh, I keep forgetting his name.
Ashraf Ali Tanvi?
No, he knows Dogar Sahib, and then we get even closer with him. Now the end of the year is coming up, and all this time, me and Haqqani have been trying to move in to the apartments or the dorms. Especially myself, I really, Haqqani was kind of like 50-50. He was cool with it.
On campus,
I
right?
really, I wanted to move on campus. Every time I went on campus, I was like, bro, I have to be here. I want to be here. I don't want to be so far away from the school. And the beautiful thing is the masjid. So there's like a masjid in the middle of the campus where everybody just comes there and studies after Maghrib. You see like people reading Quran. There's like hundreds of people in there. It's a humongous masjid. There's a second floor too. There's people reading Quran. People are studying with their teachers. People are revising. I mean, it is such a beautiful place to be.
Is this like Mughal era like construction?
Yes,
like
yes.
Oh wow.
Yes,
So it's like there's history there.
Yeah. And you guys can look up. You know,
So the thing is, so that probably if you probably wanted to be there because outside is probably Hindu dominated. So inside you feel like you're among the Muslims.
yes. And you get the stairs. And to get home, and again,
Were you guys cooking beef on the down low?
no, we weren't. No. You can't get it. You can't get it in North India.
I'm saying, what if you put cows like in there?
So like, what about what's the biryani there? Like all potatoes and stuff?
No, I mean you can get chicken biryani.
like
and,
shrimp.
but me and Haqqani, we weren't very fond. I'm not a very picky eater, but the problem is being in Hyderabad for 2 months and then having the same expectations of food in the UP. The food was nothing.
But I heard like though Delhi biryani is supposed to be better than Hyderabad.
Delhi is good, but we weren't in Delhi
Oh,
at all.
Lucknow
Yeah.
biryani is supposed to be good. No? Oh, really?
No.
Do you remember? Wait, do you remember when?
I'd rather
when
eat Pakistani biryani. Sorry,
do you remember
guys.
when we were in Egypt and I would just make an omelet in the morning with that broke cheese and that we didn't even have the
That stuff
proper
was good,
things.
bro.
We couldn't even get shredded cheese.
No, because bro, I was just used to just making it quick, and then when you came, you started. I was like, Mark, what did you put in this? He made this killer omelet, dude. He showed me. He like, cuts up this cheese and he puts it in the mixer of the omelet and he cooks it like that, bro. Put some black pepper on the top. Oh, it was good.
You learn to do that stuff when you're traveling though.
Yeah.
Like there's no grated cheese. Like we have so much stuff for granted in America. These people don't realize. Like when you get there, you're like, oh man, like. Oh, yeah.
Bro, let me put it this way.
We'll talk about that in Egypt, but you.
Let me put it this way. When I was in India, I got some cheese from the store, and it was the worst thing I probably ever tasted in my life, dude.
It's probably worse than that vegan cheese.
Was it like that paneer cheese?
It's paneer, yeah.
So that's like cottage cheese almost, right? No, what is it?
It's kind of like an imitation mozzarella or something.
Right.
Yeah, but it has a very plasticky taste to it. But anyways, maybe it was the packaging. So anyways, we're trying to move in. The setup is beautiful. You're around all these students. I loved hanging out with the Thai students. They were awesome dudes. A lot of cool life experiences. And I'm constantly trying to move in to the dorms on campus. All the teachers live on campus too. It was just, for me, I was like, this is my next step. And if I get this is my victory. And there's a dilemma that started occurring is where they're like, we don't have anything left. We don't have anything for you. We don't have anything. And then later, I found out all along that they had all these vacancies there in the dorms. I was like, why didn't they tell us that? We're like on this waiting list. And then there was other people moving in and out. In this process, I have to mention that we met Awais Namazi. Have you guys ever heard of Awais Namazi?
He's in the UK?
Yeah. He was in Nadwa while we were there. He was like 2 or 3 years senior to us. Me and Haqqani, when we took the
Is it Nizami or Namazi?
Namazi is his last name.
Really
Really cool dude. You guys can look him up online. Really cool dude, mashallah. Me and Haqqani took a placement test. Alhamdulillah, we placed into the 3rd year, because we already knew Arabic and we already had some background, and we took our placement exam, verbal and written exams. So Awais was 2 years, I think, ahead of us, or 3 years maybe, I can't remember. But then while I was in America, I was communicating with them because I came back to the States after a year of being in Nadwa, the first school year. And I was communicating with them, and they said, yes, we're going to find you a place. Don't worry. But then while I was in the States, I called them. I said, I just want to reconfirm that this place is reserved for us. Like, no, we can't reserve that for you anymore. It put a really sour taste in my mouth.
So you went to America real quick?
Yeah, after that 1 year was finished,
okay,
I came back to the States. I'm planning to go back there again to Nadwa.
Right.
But then the crazy thing is the conversations that I'm having with them while I'm overseas, it just was... Again, not the fault of the school, but the fault of the people that it was like that whole process over again of re-registering, like that nightmarish 1 month phase before we got into that whole thing started over again.
So you feel like time would be wasted again?
Time was not only that,
it was unassuring that.
It was unassuring, and you felt kind of like people were being disloyal to you, and there's something else there. And in that process, my friend who was with me in Mauritania, Taj al-Islam, while all this is happening, he's calling me. He's like, bro, you got to come to Egypt, man. I have everything set up for you. And Egypt is the place to be right now. We better jump on this opportunity now, the way the environment is set up here for learning, because we don't know how much longer it's going to last this way, right? And I was like, how good can it be? You know, I'm in India right now, and he's like, and I told him, I poured out everything to him of what was going on. And he's like, you know what, just don't worry about it. Just do istikhara. And while I'm in the States, I'm doing istikhara, and everything is pointing towards Egypt for me now. But I was like, dude, I gotta continue. I can't just stop. You know what I'm saying? Haqqani, he's a soldier. He was basically staying in Hyderabad and just going back to Lucknow for his exams. But he has family there. He has his, aunts live there, and he was living in their house. And I was like, dude, I'm not gonna have a place actually to live. I'm not gonna be able to live with him. With Haqqani, he told me, obviously there's women in the house, or all his aunts and this and that. And I was like, dude, I can't live with you guys. Do I have to do this whole thing correspond? Like, is it gonna be worthwhile for me to live in Hyderabad just to get a degree from Nadwa, or should I be looking for something that is maybe a little more reputable?
Because you're not going to be on campus anyways.
I'm not going to be on campus.
And so you can be away from the learning experience.
I had a feeling like when Mustafa Umar was there, when I met him, there was a crazy story. Sheikh Mustafa Umar, I used to see him around in the masjid when we used to go for salah. And I used to tell Haqqani, I was like, dude, that dude's not from India. He looks Desi, but he's not Desi from the walk. And he used to always wear some nice thobes, mashallah, like the Emirati thobes. But there was something about the walk from the people from the States that that there was another guy that I met there from the States too, who's there visiting. I knew right away, even though he was dressed in a kurta pajama.
Oh, that happens everywhere, dude.
Yeah, I was like, this guy's not from India.
Whenever I travel in the world, they know. I could be wearing like an igal or shemag. I could be wearing a hamdaniya. They will know the walk.
Yeah,
they know the walk. Yeah, honestly, even when I go to Canada, I'll be walking the mall.
It's like a strut.
You're not from.
It's a strut, but it's like the way you look and it's the
confidence.
composure.
No,
yeah.
I'm not gonna lie. Americans are confident when they walk. Like there's kind of
might
posture.
be a confidence thing.
It is, bro. Trust me. I've seen it. You know why? Because I asked somebody this. I'm like, how did you know? Like you Americans posture when you walk. Like when you walk, like you have this, like you have this posturing. Like
it's like a swagger.
Yeah, it's like a swag. It's a swag. Because I was in the mall and it happened to me in Egypt. Happened to me in Jeddah. Happened to me in Riyadh. Happened to me in Dubai. Happened to me in Africa. I mean, wherever I go, it happened to me everywhere I went.
And you know what the crazy thing is? There's an Egyptian guy. This is like when I was in Egypt. My daughter was still little. We're at the mall. My wife, she's wearing niqab, so you can't really see who she is. So they only see me. And there's a guy who wasn't even American. He stayed in America. I think he studied. He was there for like 5 to 7 years. And he just walks up to random strangers like, "You're from America, right?" I was like, "How do you know?" Like, I'm wearing a thobe too, and I got tan skin.
You got that freedom swag, bro.
Maybe, or maybe it's just my love handles.
You know one thing someone told me too. He's like, we could tell by your teeth where you're from. I don't know how.
Oh, because the white teeth.
Yeah. Your brother used to say that.
Because you're going to dentist like a few times a year.
You go to any dentist in out of America or the West, and they see your teeth. They're like, these are immaculate teeth.
No, but they're from the water too. The water that people drink, it corrodes their teeth.
Yeah, I mean, no, and there's certain things where like the food that they eat, like our fluoride and tooth, they're just oral hygiene is different.
Yeah.
So people can tell you start talking. Or just smiling, they know.
Your breath ain't kicking like Jackie Chan,
and your teeth ain't crooked. They ain't crooked like a broken piano. You know what I mean? Like, but I mean, you're so right. I mean, I if you told me that, I would not even like doubt it for a minute that somebody would know you're an American.
So you see Mustafa Omar.
Mustafa Omar. I was like, Assalamu alaikum, wa alaikum salam. I was like, where are you from? I started talking about English. No, first I started talking about Urdu, and his Urdu is kind of broken, but he understands. I was like, where are you from? He's like, I'm from America. I was from where? He's like, oh, I'm from California. I was like, no way. I was like, dude, I gotta tell my friend Haqqani, we've been looking for an American dude, because he's the first guy we actually like know that's a student there is American, aside from me and Haqqani. So with him, he had another challenge. He had a different type of challenge. For him, I don't think he'll mind me saying this, Mustafa Omar, and if
you probably would said it on our show before too.
Yeah, actually. Now, there's some people that riled up and had a conspiracy against him that he was a spy. Yeah, in the school.
Okay.
And I think some teachers started believing it too.
A spy against the Indian Muslims?
I don't know why he didn't. But remember, this is post 9/11 world, remember?
Yeah.
Post 9/11 world, people are all still talking about Taliban. This is in 2003, 2004.
Yeah, but I mean, he's going to spy against the Indian Muslims?
It's a possibility. Why not?
What are the Indian Muslims?
But dude, you look at Mustafa Omar. He does have a look.
No, but what I'm saying though is
he's like an intelligence gathering look. It's not like a like an evil look, but he looks like someone who likes to gobble up knowledge, right?
Even if I'm saying even if somebody wants, it looks like Inspector Gadget. Okay, all I'm saying is, what threat to the Indian Muslims pose?
It doesn't matter. Well, you have to remember they're in the midst of a Hindu place where Muslims are always in defense.
Oh, they thought he was recruited by the Hindus, like a BJP or someone, to like.
I don't know. They
just infiltrate into Darul Nadwa.
No,
and put in some mushrikeen.
I don't know, but it's once it's said. That's a dangerous thing about saying someone's an agent. Once it's said, even if you don't believe it, there's this mark on your heart about somebody.
Honestly, even when people bring about regular people, like, you don't meet them. Oh, that guy's probably, he looks like an agent. I hate when people say that.
It's one of those concepts. It's somebody said. There's a concept in Arabic. وَقَدْ قِيل. وَقَدْ قِيل means that it was said.
Yeah.
So even if someone says something, even though you don't believe it, it still lingers. There's a mark lingering about that individual.
Oh yeah, I remember when we were young. Any white converts? That they were like, there people would say just in joking, like, oh, he's an agent,
Like, wait,
we would have like,
no, it wouldn't be white conversation. Let's say I didn't even post 9/11. If I didn't know you and you asked me what I thought about politics, I'm like, in my mind, I'm like, you're a jasus. Why are you talking about politics?
No, but anytime like people even said anything related to being an agent, someone who's infiltrating a mosque, just that. It just stays on there. Like you're always thinking that. No,
I get what you mean, and I think for
you said jasus. That's the term.
Jasus is a spy.
I know some dude named Jasus.
No, you don't.
No, that's a name.
That's a name.
No, maybe Jasim.
No, it's a convert. He's a convert. His name is Jasus.
No.
What?
He's in the inner city. Yeah, it's African American brother.
Look, Allah in Surah Al-Hujurat says, "Wala tajassasu." Don't spy on people. Are you sure his name is Spy?
I've got to double check. We actually have a mutual friend. He's not like he's some random. I gotta make sure. It's the
you
right
should
name.
probably email the brother and be like, "Hey, brother, it's probably not a good name to have."
Is your name Jesus? He's a convert. He's not.
Yeah. I mean, I wouldn't. But anyways, the point being is
Mustafa Omar was
not a jasus.
Not a jasus.
So he was having trouble there.
And he was having the same issue we were having about registration, and because we're like, dude, this is the same story we have. Right? And then,
so wait, were they just generally nervous about Americans coming there?
Some people were.
I mean, the administration, not the school.
Administration, I don't.
I'm thinking you guys are paying money. You guys would get. I mean, you could throw an extra stack on the table and be like, "Hey, bro, I'm a big guy."
It's still to this day, even if you ask Umar Haqqani, that whole month was a blur and so painful. Like, it's just nothing makes sense about that story.
Maybe it's just qadar Allah. I mean,
of course.
Yeah, I mean, it wasn't meant for you.
Nothing makes sense about that whole situation. That first month we were there, but even later it was just like, subhanallah. At least you get a taste of what knowledge is there, and you add that to your toolkit, and then you're ready to continue. And that's the mindset I was at.
So you about a year into it, you're ready to leave.
I finished one school year. Yeah.
Okay.
And when did his brother show up?
His brother showed up a few months after we were in Nadwa. And that was interesting because...
my brother.
His Sim's brother. Yeah. The reason why he was the most valuable asset to us is, that boy can cook, man.
No, wait, hold on. I have to say one thing. I remember I was Skyping, MSNing with these guys. And in the middle of the MSN call, we gotta go. I'm like, why? Like, Irfan's blood sugars are low. He needs chocolate now. And they're scrambling to find chocolate.
No, Irfan was such a valuable thing to us, bro, because when I was staying in Hyderabad while we were on break, so we find out that Irfan is coming to Hyderabad. We go to Hyderabad on our break, and then we bring him to Lucknow, right? But while our base is in Hyderabad, all of us, his family, Sim's family, they basically give us like this little apartment that I was staying in while on my breaks, and then Irfan just ended up living with me. So they own this building, an apartment building, and me and Irfan were living there together while we were in Hyderabad. But he was living with me and Haqqani in Lucknow also. The cool thing about this dude was, like, he brought obviously a different perspective, and he was being very critical by the way of he was learning. He's like, they just want me to memorize all this. Like, I don't even understand any of this. Why are they making me memorize all this? And it was very cute seeing him wear like a sherwani topi and like a kurta pajama and sherwani to school. It was really, really interesting. But the types of food that this dude would make for us, Allahu Akbar, dude. Like, me and Haqqani were just kind of backpacking and trying to, like, figure out how to make food. Irfan, like, teaches us how to make khima, like, ground beef and, like, putting the ghee in it and the onions. And we're like, wow, we were eating like kings after that kid came, bro. Like, mashallah, you know? So everything happens for a reason. And, you know, he was there with us for a while. And then he ended up getting married, right? So me and Haqqani being excited for him. So let me just give a little backdrop to the story, and then I think we're nearing the end because we're going to get into Egypt after this. Yeah. And that can be the next episode, inshallah. So we're in Lucknow. Irfan goes to Hyderabad because he's about to get married. We waited out a little bit. We get a message from him that he's getting married. We're like, oh, dude, he's getting married. Let's go. This is like 11 o'clock p.m. at night. The streets are empty. And Haqqani's like, dude, let's go to the phone place, internet cafe, and call him up and congratulate him, bro. I can't believe it. And we're going to be like his best men or whatever the case is. So we're all excited because I think we were like on a break or something then. We were like on a mid-year break or something. So we were just doing our own studying. It was just kind of casual. So at nighttime, me and Haqqani had a motorcycle. He was a driver because he's gutsy enough to drive. I wasn't gutsy enough to ride a motorcycle. He's riding a motorcycle. I'm on the back. We're not too far away from the internet cafe. It was about a 10-minute motorcycle ride. And while we're riding, we just see something fly in the air. There's some guys that are playing, grown dudes, and the cardboard box lands in front of us while Haqqani's probably going like 30, 40 miles an hour. We're not wearing helmets. He goes over the cardboard box. He slips, and then the bike slides. Haqqani goes flying. I kind of slide with the bike. The bike is on my leg, and I fall on the ground, right? Haqqani gets up. The bike is on my leg, and I'm like in pain, bro. Like, I feel like my knee throbbing. I think I break my knee or something. And Haqqani goes and starts fighting with these guys. Like, you mother this and then Urdu. I can't remember what he was saying, but I'm pretty sure Lucknowi people had no idea what he was saying because he was speaking his hydro lingo. It's like, are you guys crazy? He screamed at the top of his lungs. I was like, wait, Haqqani, help me out, bro. Come here, dude. And he's like going there and fighting with these guys. And it happens so fast we don't really realize what's happening. But there's at nighttime all the auto rickshaw guys, they all line up their auto rickshaws across the road, and they're all sleeping.
Yep.
Right? They're like sleeping behind their auto, and there's like this kind of like this platform where they all sleep on. I want you guys to imagine the street over here. It's all empty now. On the side, there's all these auto rickshaws lined up, but they're backed up. Their auto rickshaws are backed up onto this platform area, this kind of raised, and they're all like sleeping there, and some people are sleeping in their auto rickshaws.
Yeah.
And I'm like, and then there's like this commotion. These guys just start popping out of nowhere, right? And I'm like, Haqqani, hold on. And then he helps me up. I get up, and Haqqani's just fighting with the dudes. I'm like, God damn, we're about to get in a brawl. Pardon my language, guys. I said the D word. Yeah. So then we start getting in a brawl. I was like, Haqqani, come. And then the guy swings at Haqqani, and they start swinging at us, and we start swinging. And then we start swinging, and they back up a little bit. They're like, they're like acting like they're all sad. Sorry. And all of a sudden, dude, like 20 dudes, 30 dudes pop out of nowhere.
They woke up?
They all woke up. They're all a union, dude. They all got each other's back. Right? And I'm wearing slippers. I still remember. Haqqani is wearing slippers. And I back up a little bit. I'm like, oh, Haqqani, we're about to get in a fight, dude. And Haqqani's like, let's go. I was like, no, dude, we're about to die over here, dude. And then I see like these guys are like in the back picking up rocks, like big rocks and sticks. And then I have this genius idea. I'm like, all right, dude, we're about to go down. I'm just going to try to hit as many dudes as I can with one punch at a time. So I see like 4 guys line up like this. I think I'm Popeye or something. And I'm like, hopefully I can hit all 4 of them like one after the other. That's not how fighting really works. So literally, I'm like, over here, there's a guy right here. I see my peripheral. I'm like, all right, there's 4 guys. I still remember there's 4 dudes. Yeah. They're all right here. They're about to fight. And they're like cussing at us. And it all is like a big blur. Like everything is just like, wah, 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 wah. And I just take a swing as hard as I can, and I hit 1, 2, and I see a fist flying from over here, and it hits me. I get dizzy. I kind of like fall on my knee, and I get back up. I'm like, all right, let's do this, right? And then there's like almost like 40 guys there, bro. And Haqqani's like, get on the bike, let's get out of here. I was like, all right, I'm like so confused. And
your knee might have was
my knee. I'll talk about my knee later, okay? Because I still have the mark to prove it. So he's like, get on the bike, let's go. He goes, let's go to Asim's cafe. There's a guy there who owns an internet cafe. We used to call him Asim because it was like HT Asim. Okay. But we used to call him Asim, like as a joke, because we don't remember his name, but he looks exactly like Asim, talks like Asim, same voice as Asim, glasses like Asim, same height, everything is Asim.
Tall
right?
Asim?
The same
Tall
way
lake.
how Fahim was Shirazi.
Yeah.
Okay, the same way Fahim was in Egypt. So he's like, let's go to Asim. So I'm like kind of laughing. I'm like, wait, we're calling him Asim now in this serious situation too. All right, let's go with it. So like, all right, let's go to Asim's Cafe. We go to Asim's Cafe. While we're riding away, the guys are throwing rocks at us, like big rocks, and we're like dodging them, right? And these rocks, if they hit your head, you're probably gonna die, dude.
So Hakani's just like driving.
Haqqani's driving. And he's
Swerving.
like, darn it, my slipper, bro. And then I was like, all right, stop, let's go. And I think I grabbed his slipper. And then while the rocks were coming, as I grabbed his slipper, we get to the internet cafe. We tell the dude what happened. And we think like we can get him as backup or we're going to go back and fight. And the dude has like a family and stuff. He's like, no, guys, wait, just calm down. He sees us getting all riled up. And we're like in the internet cafe, we're all like blood pumping, we're like, this happened, we gotta go get the guy's like, no, the guy's really polite. No, just wait for it to settle down. You have no idea. These guys will all get together, you end up fighting like 100 people. No, you're not gonna have, that's not gonna happen. He locks the door. He's like, did they see where you came and everything? And that guy's not
like,
worried.
don't bring the trouble to me.
Yeah, and now we're like, oh darn it, yeah, we can't do that, bro. This guy's gonna be shot at, he's gonna get in trouble. So we let it cool down and settle down. We stayed there for like an hour, 2 hours. We ended up talking to Irfan. We called Irfan, like, Irfan, Haqqani's joking. I was like, we got in a fight because of you, man.
I remember that because you guys were wanting to calm down and you guys MSN'd everybody you could, and I was online at that time.
Yeah.
And I remember Haqqani was like, oh, I remember he came on to the MSN.
He's such a maskhara.
And he had like a sunglasses on. He's like, I had a fight.
The funny thing is,
I'm like, what happened? Did you kick their butt? He's like, there were many of them.
but the funny story was, he's like, hell yeah, Amir, we did it. I was like, we did what? So we survived. Now we're gonna tell everyone we fought 50 guys. I was like, no, dude, let's not tell anybody. I'm just thinking, I don't want my family and parents to find out that I got in a fight because
so
we all know
wait,
each other.
I need to interject here. Okay, Amir is very humble. Okay, I grew up with Amir. When he is mad, he is mad, and I'm pretty sure it's one of the reasons why those guys didn't want to fight anymore. They
wanted to fight. We took.
I
off.
can't go into details, but I've been in situations where Amir has intimidated guys that are twice as big as him.
No, that's not true, bro.
You can be humble all you want, bro.
The blue-eyed devil.
Okay,
The blue-eyed devil. When his nostrils flare
that's
up.
why I call him the blue-eyed, because when he gets mad,
Shaitan nikalda.
yeah,
No, man.
it just comes out. But
no, bro.
mashallah, tabarakallah, I don't think here's the thing about Amir. Okay, I will say this, and I'm calling him Amir because I'm talking to him as a brother now. He won't start a fight himself, but if he sees someone else is in a fight and he sees them at risk, he's not gonna let you down.
Alhamdulillah. Thank you, bro. I mean,
So that's just, he won't start it though. He'll be the one that kind of
He'll be the one who catches you when you fall.
Yeah, he
won't necessarily throw the first punch. He'll just make sure he's there to catch you. Like,
No.
Here's some ice packs, brother.
He'll try to calm me down and say, let's step away, come on, bro. But if he sees that you're under threat, then he'll just jump forward.
Alhamdulillah. Thank you, bro.
And that's just the kind of, and I've seen that firsthand. Like, I've known that. That's why early on, I told him a couple podcasts ago, you guys remember, I told Amir, that's my brother, fool. I remember that. There's a moment that Amir knows what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
And let's just say that that he's not a coward.
Alhamdulillah, let's say me and Mort go way back, bro. We had a lot of interesting experiences together back in the day. But that being said, now we head back, after everything's done, we head back to our apartment. We're like, dude, Haqqani, it all happened so fast. The first thing Haqqani says to me, it's like, what happened? I was like, what do you mean? He's like acting like it was my fault. He's like, what happened? I was like, why? Because when we go to the internet cafe, I used to be watching like UFC fights back then.
Oh wow!
Like
yeah,
UFC.
yeah.
He's like, all those videos you watch, man, and that's how it goes down. I was like, what do you mean, bro? He's like, you were always watching all these fighting videos. Why didn't you apply it there? I was like, Haqqani, bro, I don't know, bro. It was just a big blur, bro. He's like, I can't believe you wuss and this and that. I was like, all right, dude, whatever, bro. And then we go to sleep. I still remember like the kurta I was wearing. I'm like, I finally decided to look down, like I'm changing my clothes, and I see there's like blood all over my kurta, like my pants. There's blood running down my knees, like dried blood. And I was like, it was that bad? And there was like this gash on my knee, and it was honestly, it was painful for like almost a month. Like you feel it when you bend your knee, especially when you're praying. But I never got it checked out. I got it checked out much later, like, got an x-ray on it and be like, hey, I just want to know there's no permanent damage on it. But alhamdulillah, everything was sound, everything was good.
Yeah. Us Desis, we have weak knees.
We do.
ACLs go
weak
like
knees,
that.
Weak
like
joints. I feel everything in my joints when I wake up now, bro. It's all about stretching
Bro,
protocols.
every Desi I know who plays basketball has lost his ACL.
Yeah, our genes are interesting.
Really bad.
But then, so now, anyways, long story short, I get back to the States, and now I'm preparing my journey for Egypt. And that itself is another episode, inshallah, because we got to pray Maghrib.
Cool.
Yeah.
All right. Folks, help us out on patreon.com / the Mad Mamluks.
No, make sure you become Patreon member because we're going to be releasing content like that. You guys
exclusive content that no one will ever be able to
like
have.
other stories from this story that we can't tell here.
Yes.
And not just that, you will also be able to communicate with us directly on our shows. You will have the highest preferential order in sending us questions and getting fiqh questions answered by Shaykh here.
Yeah, Shaykh here. And there's one thing, just let me say one thing, is that, look, the story that I'm giving is a general story. There's obviously in life and a part of the human experiences, all these crazy, almost like traumatic type stuff that occurred that I don't feel comfortable because I know there's little kids watching this too. I know relatives of mine that watch this. There's certain things that I can't mention. But inshallah, for our members, I think that I think they should know it's not just all like this mystique and glamour about seeking knowledge. There's lots of hardship that goes with it.
Yeah.
Right. And like a lot of the hardship that happens, bro, I never called my parents like, oh, I was never that person. I'm still not that. I never want my parents to worry about me, but there's lots of types of sicknesses I had that are a little residual now. I still have them, but I don't really tell people.
So before we wrap this one up, if given the whole India, like in the culmination, if you could just give one piece of advice, having to travel to India and the whole experience there, if a person is a potential student of knowledge listening to this, what was the most important thing you learned out of the whole Indian experience?
Very good. I would say number one, don't underestimate the study of hadith. Just because you're in India, you start to understand that if you're there, make sure you take the adab that's learned. I've met other students, like students from America and like from the UK, where they looked at me like I'm crazy because the way I'm treating a book and how much respect I'm showing a book. I'm not saying that book is sacred like the Quran itself is sacred, but the mindset and the way you behave towards knowledge is going to manifest itself into your life. It's not about attaining how much knowledge you attain. It's about what relationship you have with that knowledge, right? So if you go to India, make sure you visit, the people of hadith and the scholars of hadith because they're compendiums in hadith.
I had a question since you mentioned that. So a few months ago, there was this whole discussion about with Quran was at its peak. There was like some shiyukh who are all from Indian descent did like khatam of Sahih Bukhari.
They did the khatam of Sahih Bukhari. Yes,
you know what I'm talking about?
Yes.
So there were some questions asked about like, well, where is that from the Sunnah, etc.
Very good.
Can you explain a little bit about
Very good.
that?
So one thing is that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given us many, many instruction about the life of Rasulullah and why we have to follow Rasulullah. Some people don't like to hear this. When I was like in like my Salafi phase, I didn't like to hear people saying this. But studying Muhammad and his hadith, there's lots of barakah in it. And that in itself gives a different types of provision that you can't put a label on, right? So one thing is that, yes, there's Quran. Everyone's always reading Quran. But to prove to Allah your love of Rasulullah, right, is also studying the life of Rasulullah even in times of discontent and fear. You don't have to have evidence for it. Like, there's people that say to me, oh, there's no evidence for putting the Quran on the ground, so I can put the Quran on the ground where I'm walking. You don't have to have evidence for something like that, right? No. The same thing goes with the hadith of Rasulullah. So there's a practice that started not only just amongst the scholars of India, the scholars of muhaddithin of Yemen, the muhaddithin of all parts of the world. Even in time of fear, the general populace of people, they're reading Quran, they're doing du'as. But what's on the level of a scholarly level that people can do to get on Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's rahmah? One of the gateways to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's rahmah is Muhammad sallallahu and sending salutations. So what would you think of somebody, like, we have to give this context. I don't know how much more time we have. But
we're almost out of time.
Think of the reason why Imam al-Bukhari compiled the Sahih al-Bukhari, right? First and foremost, his teacher, Shihab, said it would be good if one of you can compile a book of hadith. Because there were so many people fabricating hadith and making up hadith. So Imam al-Bukhari, he takes it upon himself. But why does he take it upon himself? He has a dream. And in his dream, he sees that there's people around him and his teacher, and the study of hadith is taking place, but he's fanning flies away from Muhammad sallallahu Imam al-Bukhari. And remember, Imam al-Bukhari, when he was a child, he was blind. He got eyesight later when Ibrahim alayhi salam came in his dream. and he was able to see after that.
Allah understand.
Yeah. And so Imam al-Bukhari is fanning flies away from Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam in his dream. So he tells his teacher, I said, I had this dream, this ajib dream where I'm fanning flies. He said, one day you'll be fanning lies away from Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. That's the interpretation of this dream. So Imam al-Bukhari says, I'm going to become a compiler of hadith. The same Imam al-Bukhari who goes all the way to Yemen to collect one hadith because he hears that somebody has a hadith, but he doesn't take it from that person because he feels that person was luring his horse with greenery to drink water because the horse wasn't drinking water. We'll get into that in the next episode, the detail of that. Now, this compilation of a compendium of hadith of Rasulullah is nothing but barakah. It has everything to do with barakah and has everything to do with the love of Rasulullah, the way he's supposed to be loved is through the understanding of Allah in this book. Why wouldn't Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala alleviate any hardship from somebody who goes out of their way to study the beloved, the Habib of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, Rasulullah? That's why that is on a muhaddithin level, the scholars of hadith, they do khatams of books of hadith, of their love for Rasulullah, obviously, which is the love of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So Quran is not the only way of alleviating hardship. It's also the Habib of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and loving the Habib even more is also a way of getting and alleviating anxiety from the person.
I take care of my.
Can I just add one thing? That also, wait, before you make your silly comment, let me tell you one thing. No, but also there are hadith Qudsi, and which are the kalam of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala within the hadith. Like they're not part of the Quran, but like they are the speech of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala.
Yeah.
And so in them carries barakah meaning. But also I look at it in a way where if you're seeking wasila, right? The example is Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So perhaps something in the ahadith will be an example for you and people listening. Yeah. Because anytime there's of hardship, we try to find what the Prophet ﷺ would do, the different avenues that he would take. Yeah. And so I think that in and of itself is a reminder to people and even the muhaddithin who are sitting there, because sometimes you read it, right? But you just may not remember as much, right? Or you may not, someone may, or this may be a time where you just seek some blessing out of it. And the other thing is, we know that there were muhaddithin in the past, like from the madahib, that would, like, they would make ghusl before narrating a hadith. Yeah, put athar, and like if they can show that respect for it and that kind of attitude towards the collections, I don't see why anyone would question why someone would elevate the status of the hadith of the Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam. It doesn't make sense to me.
Yeah, man.
Go ahead, make your comment.
No, it's all right. We're wrapping up. Thank you all for listening. We'll see you all next time. Assalamu alaikum.
The Egypt story is going to be a long one. Oh.